Now, there is no question about it that Snow White 2025, also known as the Snow White live-action remake by the Walt Disney Company, is an utter disaster for those like Bob Iger, the Disney executives, and the board of directors that are in full-on panic mode right now, trying to desperately hide Rachel Zegler from making on-video or actual appearances on live television or pre-taped material. There's a lot of things going on right now between the whole controversy between Gal Gadot as well as Rachel Zegler, and the overall drama between the two actresses behind the scenes and in the public eye. But at the top of the list here, we know that Disney is already embracing this movie to become one of their biggest failures yet in 2025. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So far, it's not a good 2025 for Disney, right? For Bob Iger. They already dealt with the box office disaster that is Captain America Brave New World, Captain America 4, and the most recent ratings issues with Daredevil Born Again on Disney+, and now you have Snow White, which is all set and ready to debut on March 21st. Well, that's not the end of it, because right now they are dealing with bigger issues and how they are taking action against Rachel Zegler in a very unexpected way. Let's dive into this, shall we? Now, what's interesting about all of this is that, yes, we do know that Rachel Zegler is a very unhinged actress. She has been saying some of the most ridiculous things out there about the storyline of Snow White, about how, yes, this is going to be a movie about saving society and how it's going to reflect on the real world today and how there's a lot of things going on with this movie that is all agenda-driven when she doesn't want to admit that. But what's interesting about this is that with the Walt Disney Company already in damage control mode over Snow White starring Rachel Zegler, one significant development that is now in play involves more to do with Rachel Zegler herself. Now, an update to this entire Snow White drama now involves how Zegler was recently banned in a very specific way by the Walt Disney Company, and how she reacted is quite something else that nobody saw coming. Now, just recently, the Disney Board of Directors and CEO Bob Iger made a swift move by banning Rachel Zegler from going on programs like The Kelly and Mark Show, Drew Barrymore, and even a major appearance on, get this, SNL, that was just recently canceled entirely by Disney. It turns out that Rachel Zegler was going to provide a major performance by singing and performing live on SNL on March 22nd, a day after the release of Snow White, dressed up as the character. Disney recently took action by hiding Zegler's appearance by informing NBC that they will be banning her presence on NBC and canceling her performance altogether. To make matters worse, for Zegler's sake, is that she was also forced to step down and walk away from the Jimmy Kimmel Live show via ABC, which is owned by Disney themselves, where she too was supposed to sing a song from the Snow White film on stage on March 14th. Now guys, about that, I think a lot of this alludes to the fact that there's going to be massive layoffs happening over at ABC in the coming weeks. We'll have a lot more to talk about that as well in the coming days, but that, I think, has a lot to do with this as well. They can't afford any more backlash when it comes to Rachel Zegler, especially on their own programs, such as Jimmy Kimmel Live. But what's really interesting here is that moving onwards, is that this was also suddenly scrapped by Bob Iger and the Disney executives in a panicky move to silence Rachel Zegler to hide her appearance dressed up as Snow White on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Now, Zegler is already blaming the Disney company for breaking her contract, since she claims that those appearances were actually built into her contract deal for Snow White. Zegler is also blaming the Disney company for hindering and damaging her acting career, and she is already warning to take legal action later down the road after the debut of Snow White on March 21st. Now, after she was banned and canceled from making all of those appearances on SNL and the many other shows and programs dressed as the character, the top of the list here is that Rachel Zegler was also forced to cancel a major appearance at the Las Vegas Sphere, where she was going to make a surprise appearance to perform a promotional piece for Snow White that was going to be pre-taped material, not live, and uploaded by all Disney social media platforms. Now, Zegler is reportedly outraged about all of these developments to the point that she is already gathering a plan to make an open statement about the studio politics going on over at Disney right now, and how she believes they are falling for the critics' issues with DEI. Now guys, let me just stop here for one moment now. I think that at the end of the day, Disney is realizing that the damage is done. No matter what they do, if they even withdraw from DEI for many future projects, I think people are just tired of Disney in general. They're not falling for any kind of temporary withdrawal from their agenda, from their ideology, and I've said this many times again. I'll say it again. What they are doing basically right now, when Bob Iger says, we're going to withdraw from DEI, we're going to stop all of this for now, that's the magical thing that you have to look at, is that he says for now. It's a basically temporary relief from DEI until things water down for a while, until they trick their audience into believing that things are back to normal, and then they'll start things up again, probably again in 2027 or 2028. There's no doubt about it. But do I still believe that Disney will truly withdraw from DEI? I highly doubt it. I really don't see it actually happening at a full scale 100%. It's going to take a very large amount of people to really believe that things are going well, for people to even invest in Disney again. But I digress. This is where it really gets interesting, is that already Bob Iger is set to kickstart an emergency meeting with the board of directors by the end of this week to actually create a plan to withdraw from other on-video interviews that Zegler is supposed to take part in. But the biggest one of all is the latest cancellation, is that Zegler was supposed to actually do a pre-taping of her performance as Snow White at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, right in front of the Disney castle. It was planned to be an entire event for Snow White that was canceled and was going to cost, get this, $10 million to produce. $10 million for a pre-taped performance of Rachel Zegler dressed as Snow White at Disney World in front of the castle. Just think about that. And it was supposed to be 1 whole hour long. It really makes you wonder exactly where all this money is going when it comes to the Walt Disney Company and how they handle their marketing campaigns for their films and what they were really thinking. Now look, we already know that the budget for this movie is well over $300 million, well over that. If you really want to factor in marketing expenses, etc., etc., this is exactly why Rachel Zegler is just by far one of the most box office, poison actresses out there that you could really think of. Is that the things that she said about the 1937 original, the things that she said about her co-star Andrew Burnap, that maybe all of his scenes will be cut, it's Hollywood, baby. All of these crazy statements, right? Another thing is that the drama going on between herself and Gal is a very real thing. It has been going on behind the scenes and in the public eye. We all saw that at the Oscars. They absolutely refused to look at each other live on stage. It was actually quite, outrageous to look at, because I think, and in Disney's right mind, they wouldn't have even allowed them to go on stage to look that ridiculous, where they're not even smiling at each other, they're not looking at each other at all. They just have these dead eyes looking into the camera, straight at the camera, and just want nothing to do with each other. And we could all see it of what's going on behind the scenes too. So I would like to hear what you all have to say about this ongoing issue with Rachel Zegler and going against Disney and vice versa. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.